School usually feels like a glitchy NPC dialogue tree. Totally predictable. But don't get comfortable, because the universe is flashing a red warning sign. There is something seriously unusual about the cast of characters roaming these halls. A blonde icon breezes past, every strand of hair flowing in slow motion like the animation budget just tripled. The air pressure literally drops. One student asks if she is new, completely failing the vibe check and exposing his lack of culture. His buddy shuts him down instantly, looking at him with pure disgust. He calls him an absolute moron for not recognizing the most famous face in the entire building. You can practically see the disappointment radiating off him. The gossip spreads faster than a leaked group chat. It is the legend from Class 2-2. Someone in the crowd finally connects the dots, their brain cells firing on all cylinders, and screams the name, Makoto Hanaoka. Caught in 4K, Makoto spins around with the grace of a final boss. The boys flinch, sweating bullets like they are about to get sent to the lobby. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Makoto hits them with a dazzling, weaponized smile that could blind a satellite. But instead of blushing, the boys crumble into existential dread. They know the truth, and the confusion is absolutely destroying their mental state. While the fan club is busy rebooting their brains after that entrance, Makoto just settles in. She knows she is built a little different from the average NPC in this high school. She reaches into the dark void of her desk and instantly triggers a trap card. Her fingers brush against something smooth, and it definitely is not a textbook. She fishes out the evidence. A pristine blue envelope. No name, no return address, just maximum sketchiness. It screams trouble. She cracks the seal and reads the demand. Dear Senpai, I need to talk. Wait for me after class. It is a direct summons, and you know nothing good ever happens after school in these shows. Bro, look at the weather outside. It is pouring rain, making the whole scene feel miserable. Makoto looks absolutely done. She hits us with a tired again-gam like she is stuck farming daily quests for zero loot. The bell finally rings, but of course, nature decides to drop a monsoon outside just to make the vibe absolutely miserable. She is stuck in this empty classroom, watching the rain assault the windows while the clock ticks away the last shreds of her patience. She sighs, staring down at that blue envelope like it is a bomb about to go off. Honest truth? Letters like this are never good news. They are just trauma receipts waiting to be opened, and she knows it. Any normal girl would be blushing right now, maybe hoping for a romantic confession, but Makoto? She looks at it with pure disgust. She crumples the note, grabs her bag, and hits the eject button immediately. Nope. She is not dealing with this nonsense today. The door slams open. The hinges scream for mercy. Someone just declared war on the entrance. A wild underclassman spawns in, lungs burning, gasping like a fish out of water. She bows so hard she almost headbutts the floor, apologizing to Makoto. Makoto keeps a poker face, stone cold, but inside his head, the gears are grinding. Who is this? Did I owe her money? He has absolutely zero clue who this kid is. Same committee. The girl drops her name. Saki Aoi. Makoto hits her with the S-tier acting skills. Ah yes, of course. Smooth. Internally, he is scrolling through the mental archives, sweating bullets. File not found. Error 404. The air gets heavy. You could cut the tension with a dull spoon. Saki fidgets, charging up her courage meter. She clenches a fist, knuckles turning white. She is about to go all in. She screams Makoto's name like a shonen protagonist powering up. Boom, confession nuke dropped. I like you. Please go out with me. Makoto freezes, brain buffering. He points a finger at his own chest. Me? Are you sure you have the right IP address? Saki doubles down. She lists the stats, the eyes, the height, and here is the kicker. She loves that the voice is just a bit deep. Oh, the irony is spicy enough to burn your tongue. Makoto has to verify the settings. You are into girls? Saki goes silent. The silence is loud. Makoto starts to apologize. He knows this situation is about to crash and burn. Rejection stings like a bee, but a lie would sting like a hornet. I cannot let this slide. Playing along now would just be villain behavior. Saki tries to stammer out a defense, but Makoto shuts it down. Hand up. The vibe shifts from rom-com to drama in a single frame. Makoto drops the line. I am not the girl you think I am. He grabs the ribbon, yanks it loose. This is not fan service, folks. This is a reality check. Saki tilts her head, confusion maxed out. Makoto unbuttons the collar. No save points. No going back. He looks her dead in the optic stems and prepares to shatter her world. I am. The weather decides to be dramatic with that classic sad anime rain. Saki is just standing there, staring at the floor like she failed a vibe check. She drops the heavy line. I wish I had known sooner. You would think someone just got sent to the lobby. Makoto is sweating bullets. He nervously apologizes for keeping secrets, bracing himself for impact. In his head, he is calculating the odds of survival, and they are looking slim. But then Saki flips the script and goes absolutely feral. She screams that it is the best thing ever, and her eyes practically turn into hearts. She is down on it way purchin feature nequits a mare of no wokers. She is panting heavy and losing ketchup via a massive nosebleed. She asks if she can enjoy both the guy and girl versions. That is some wild behavior right there. She tries to regain her composure, wiping the mess off her face with a shaky hand. She tells herself to act professional so he forgets she just drooled everywhere. She goes for the handshake to seal the deal, but Makoto just looks at her like she grew a second head. He decides this is too much chaos for one day and shuts her down with a cold apology. That is an instant rejection. She wipes the evidence off her face and doubles down, asking if it is still a hard pass. Makoto does not just say no, he drops the tactical nuke. He looks her dead in the eye and reveals he is a guy in a skirt who has never felt love in his entire life. He warns her that even if they date, his heart is basically frozen. That is a critical hit. Saki grips that handkerchief until her knuckles turn white, forcing a smile through the pain. She claims she understands, but the tension in that fist says she is fighting for her life. Most people would quit, but Saki? She hits the respawn button. She chases him down the hallway and screams that she is not giving up, pointing at the very cloth she just cried into. She corners him against the sunset with absolute Giga Chad confidence. She vows to become his first love, warning him to brace for impact. The Riz is actually off the charts, but then reality glitches. She realizes she soaked his handkerchief in nose ketchup. Makoto just sighs and lets her keep the biohazard souvenir, a perfect start to a chaotic romance. The sun rises and the birds tweet, but the school bell screams its daily wake-up call. It is back to the classroom grind. Makoto tries to take notes, but his brain is still buffering from last night's chaos. He grips his pencil until his knuckles turn white. He makes a hard call. He swears he will not catch feelings for her, no matter how stubborn she gets. The class rep yells the commands to stand and bow, snapping him out of the flashback, but the anxiety is still buzzing in his head. He hits us with that tragic anime protagonist energy. He decides that for her own safety, he needs to keep his distance. Bro really thinks he can fight the plot armor. Peace was never an option. The second that door slides open, Makoto hits the deck faster than a dropped server. He scrunches himself under the podium like a fugitive on the run, praying his hitbox doesn't clip through the wood. The search party scans the room with laser focus, but Makoto's stealth stats are clearly maxed out today. They buy the bluff and clear out, but you know they will be back. He barely gets a chance to exhale before the hunter returns. Saki is tearing down the hallway, screaming his name like a banshee. Makoto hugs the wall, trying to become one with the drywall. He is ducking into the reference room. He is diving behind trees in the courtyard. My guy is playing a full round of Metal Gear Solid just to avoid a single awkward conversation. Running out of options, he retreats to the gym, hoping to sweat out the panic before his heart explodes. He launches a jumper, convincing himself that if he just ghosts her long enough, she will eventually give up. He watches the rotation. The ball snaps through the net with a satisfying swish. Perfect aim, terrible logic. Gym class is finally over, and Saki is trying to catch her breath. But just as the dopamine hits, she hears the one thing that ruins the vibe. Background noise. Two background characters are running their mouths, roasting Makoto loud enough for the whole school to hear. They say he belongs in the girls' locker room. Pure, unfiltered toxicity. Saki calculates her move. Getting angry is what they want. Instead, she equips a plastic smile and offers to do their chores. It is a tactical retreat to clear the server. The moment the door clicks shut, the mask falls off. She ties her hair back, tightening the ponytail like she is prepping for a boss raid. It is time to hunt. She corners Makoto at the sink and screams his name with zero volume control. He practically jumps out of his skin, frantically reminding her that class is still in session. But Saki pulls out a pencil like it is a police badge. It is outdoor art class, which means she has a hall pass from God. Technically, she is untouchable. The air gets heavy. The hallway suddenly feels like a pressure cooker, every pair of eyes weighing a ton. The judgment is thick enough to cut with a knife. She splashes cold water on her face, trying to wash off the cringe. But Makoto cuts through the silence, dropping a reality check that hits harder than a truck. He looks her dead in the eye and warns her. Hanging out with the quote, cross-dressing guy, unquote, is going to send her social credit score straight to 0. Tears are welling up in his eyes. He is trying to play the martyr, pushing her away to save her from the splash damage of his reputation. Saki slams her hand on the counter, rattling the pipes. She screams at him, demanding to know if she was an idiot for thinking their secret actually meant something. She freezes for a second. Then, out of nowhere, she starts giggling. The tension in the room evaporates faster than water on a hot sidewalk. Makoto just stands there, clutching his folder like a life raft. He is trying to process why his tragic backstory moment just turned into a comedy skit. It all kicked off back in the sandbox era, a simpler time when the only boss fight in life was dodging nap time. Makoto secured the goods, a pink polka dot pouch. He is clutching this thing like he just looted a legendary item with a 0.1% drop rate. He zeroed in on the cutest tote in the aisle like a heat-seeking missile. Mom tried to double-check the choice, but Makoto stood his ground because he already knew exactly what his aesthetic was. Then came the reality check. Mom hesitated, dropping the one sentence that ruins everything. She reminded him that cute stuff is strictly for girls. Makoto didn't argue. He just hit her with the silent pleading stare and reached out. He wanted that bag more than he wanted oxygen. She wasn't budging. She pulled a tactical pivot and offered a dinosaur headband instead, relying on the classic boys like Lizard's defense. He put it on and immediately hated it. His soul practically left his body as he agreed just to keep the peace. Walking past the displays, the lesson sank in. The world had drawn a line in the sand. Dresses, heels, and sparkles were locked behind a gender wall he wasn't allowed to cross. He bottled it all up. The only place he could be himself was on a piece of paper, scribbling away with a pink pencil to vent the frustration. Aioi is staring at that pink pen like it holds the secrets of the universe. She is convinced it is the cutest thing on Earth. She decides she needs that energy immediately. She locks onto his coordinates and hunts him down like a heat-seeking missile. She corners him in the library. Makoto freezes up, his survival instincts failing to load. He tries to play it cool, but his brain short-circuits the moment she asks what he is doing. Makoto attempts a tactical retreat. He packs his bag at Mach speed, desperate to escape the social pressure. He just wants to go home, but she hits him with the high-voltage puppy eyes. It is super effective. She begs for a walk-home date. He tries to weave out of it with an excuse that is barely holding together, but clumsy mode activates. He backs into the shelf and the books above decide to commit gravity. He yells a warning with way too much bass in his voice. She panics and ducks behind a curtain like she is dodging a sniper. Bonk. A hardcover book lands a perfect headshot. Makoto rushes in, checking if she just got sent to the lobby. The awkwardness hits critical mass. Makoto slams the sprint button and flees the scene, screaming that he is not okay. Aoi is left confused, asking the empty room if anyone took damage. Makoto calculates his next move. To neutralize the awkward atmosphere from yesterday, he deploys the ultimate peace offering. He reveals a pink, lace-trimmed handkerchief. It is a tactical gift to settle the debt. Saki's pupils dilate. You can practically see the dopamine hitting her brain. She is vibrating like a tuning fork. But nature decides to be the villain today. A rogue gust of wind blindsides them, ripping the fabric straight out of his grip. As the cloth drifts into the canopy, Makoto's brain short-circuits. He is hit with a mental flashbang. A voice from the past echoes in his skull, screaming that cute things are for girls. The shame locks his joints in place. Saki does not hesitate. She engages beast mode. She sprints, plants her foot on the bark, and launches herself vertically. Ignoring the laws of gravity, she snags the cloth midair and sticks the landing with a smile that could cure diseases. Absolute clutch performance. She descends and presents the item. Makoto flinches, bracing for impact. He expects a lecture on masculinity, but instead, she hits him with a critical heel. She loves it. She vows to treasure this piece of fabric like it is a legendary drop from a raid boss. The wholesome levels are off the charts. Then the logic center of her brain shuts down. Saki realizes the handkerchief belongs to her, and she actually gets jealous of the fabric. She literally thinks, I wish I was that handkerchief. Okay, calm down. But while she is busy thirsting over a piece of cotton, the radar pings. A new challenger approaches from the shadows. Ryuji slams Saki against the hallway glass, channeling pure raid boss energy. The tension is thick enough to cut with a dull spoon. He leans in, eyes narrowing, demanding to know what kind of 4D chess she thinks she is playing. But Saki just stares back, sweating like she is in a sauna, and drops the ultimate confusion bomb. She hits him with a simple "Who are you?" and completely derails his momentum. You can practically hear the record scratch in Ryuji's brain. Saki tears through the corridor, sprinting like she is escaping a horror movie villain. Cardio is clearly not her strong suit, but fear is a heck of a motivator. She catches up to Ryuji, lungs burning like she just smoked a pack of unfiltered cigarettes. She practically collapses, wheezing for him to cut the act before she passes out. The commotion attracts a wild fangirl. She spots Saki and Ryuji screaming in each other's faces about honorifics like a toxic old married couple arguing over the thermostat. She completely misreads the argument as a lover's quarrel, and her heart shatters into a million pieces. That is critical emotional damage. Someone get this girl a medic. Ryuji tries to flex that they are tight, but the blonde friend zones him instantly to protect her territory. She turns the guns on Saki, accusing her of being a straight-up stalker. The audacity is off the charts. Ryuji hits Saki with a stare intense enough to melt steel beams. He knows she is hiding something, and for a split second, Saki freezes. Her poker face cracks just a tiny bit. Then she snaps back with zero shame. She looks him dead in the eye and basically says, "Yeah? And what are you gonna do about it?" Absolute menace behavior. You have to respect the hustle. Ryuji wasn't buying the innocent act for a second. He ran the numbers in his head and the math just wasn't mathing. He warned her that people usually approach Makoto as a sick joke or a punishment game, not for actual romance. He pressed the attack, accusing her of hiding her true motives. Saki flinched like she'd been slapped. You could see the tension travel down her arm, her hand balling into a tight fist as she scrambled to defend herself. Suddenly, the hallway filled with a demonic pressure intense enough to crush a diamond. A wild Makoto had appeared. He immediately switched to customer service mode, apologizing to Saki while Ryuji shriveled up like a raisin in the corner. Saki let out a massive sigh of relief that deflated her whole posture. But Ryuji refused to fold. He realized he had to double down right now or lose the argument. He jumped back into the fray, screaming at the top of his lungs that she was absolutely undeniably sus. Makoto tried to vouch for her character, but Ryuji cut through the noise like a hot knife through butter. He asked if he actually knew her or if he was just guessing based on vibes. He pointed out that they were just committee members. He analyzed the micro movements, specifically the way she flinched earlier. His gut screamed that this girl was bad news. Ryuji knew she was hiding something major, probably contraband. The lunch bell rang, signaling the end of the round, but he spotted a glitch in the matrix outside. She was camping in the bushes, acting totally sus. Ryuji squinted, zooming in to get a read on the target. She checked her corners, turned, and bam! Caught in 4K. They locked eyes, and the air crackled with pure awkwardness. She immediately mashed the escape key. Ryuji clocked the tiny silhouette instantly. It is that pipsqueak. He was not letting this side quest escape. He launched himself down the hall, footsteps thundering like an earthquake. He roared for Makoto, stomping through the doorway like a raid boss. He pointed at Saki. "You come too." Mandatory recruitment. Then he aimed his voice down the corridor and fired. "Hey, pipsqueak!" She froze like her controller disconnected. Ryuji stomped forward and invaded her personal space, looming over her like a skyscraper. He leaned in, demanding an immediate inventory check on that pocket. Saki panicked, sweating bullets, and shoved her hands behind her back. She practically screamed, "I am guilty!" Ryuji smirked. He smelled fear in the water. He cornered her with cold logic. "If it is nothing, prove it." She froze, completely out of options. He did not wait for a confession. He lunged forward and snatched her wrist mid-denial. Some random bystander yelled at him to stop the harassment. He whipped out the contraband, and the room went dead silent. He really just mugged her for a snot rag. Saki let out a banshee screech like she just lost a boss fight. But Ryuji looked closer at the prize. That was not dirt. The cloth was stained with red ketchup. Ryuji and Makoto decided this interaction was cursed and immediately hit the eject button. Saki tried to defend her honor, screaming that she wasn't some weirdo, but they were already ghosting her harder than a bad Tinder date. But naturally, the plot armor kicked in. A heavy thud echoed behind them as something valuable hit the deck. Saki stopped crying instantly. Her internal radar pinged a massive change in the game state. She scooped up the device and unlocked the holy grail of blackmail. It was a candid photo of a girl sleeping. Absolute creep behavior, sure, but in this economy, that is high-value leverage. Ryuji realized he fumbled the bag. He launched himself down the hall to snatch it back, breaking the sound barrier in sheer panic. He managed to retrieve the evidence, but the panic in his eyes was loud. He froze, staring into her soul with the desperation of a man on death row. He got right in her grill, sweating buckets. He swore that if she breathed a single word of this to Makoto, she would regret ever learning how to speak. He grabbed her cheeks, shaking her like a Polaroid picture to rattle the memory out of her brain. But Saki didn't fold. A wicked grin spread across her face. She had him exactly where she wanted him.